Hello, welcome to the show, and Merry Christmas Eve. My name is Monsterboy Roc. I hope you're all having a very happy holiday, because I know I am, because I finished accomplishing something that I didn't think I could actually accomplish, but I did it. It's my very first official, honest-to-God, real comic. Now, I had already been doing 10-panel comics all throughout this year, but this comic is my first extended comic. Now, you're probably saying, what do you mean by extended comic? What's an extended comic? Well, like I said, I've been doing 10-panel comics, but this comic was 130 panels long. And I didn't even just do 130 drawings. I also did a title illustration, and one of the panels was not just one drawing, it was actually 6 drawings. So, in total, that is 136 drawings that your pal Monsterboy Roc did for this comic. And you're probably wondering, what comic did I do? Well, I'll tell you. It's called River and Russell Home for the Holidays. If you saw the last few videos, I had mentioned this comic quite a few times. Well, the comic, as of today, is officially done. You can view it on my Instagram or Facebook right now. But I figured for this special Christmas edition of Drawing with Monsterboy Roc, I would do something really special. I am going to walk you through the process of how I created River and Russell Home for the Holidays. It took about 7 steps to make this comic a reality, and I'm going to tell you them right here, right now. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, like any story, the very first step to creating one is by having an idea pop up in your little brain noggin. And the idea for River and Russell Home for the Holidays was a fairly simple one. River and Russell are waiting for their parents to return home so they can all celebrate Christmas together. But unfortunately, they end up getting trapped in a gigantic pile of snow on the expressway. They're thankfully alright, but unfortunately they won't be home for several hours. So River and Russell decide to pass the time by doing a few things. They sit by the fire and warm up, and they open some presents from each other. And that's pretty much the whole idea of River and Russell Home for the Holidays in a nutshell. Now, I first came up with the idea for this comic about a year ago. In fact, I actually drew a few drawings about a year ago in my sketchbooks with Sharpies to help me kind of visualize the ideas that I had for this comic. I drew one of River and Russell by the fireplace, I drew one of River kissing Russell under the mistletoe, and I drew one of River and Russell holding their presents, which I didn't upload on Instagram and Facebook yet, and I'm actually going to upload that drawing tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Now, originally, this was going to be a storyline in the main passion project that I'm still developing for The Secret Beauty. So you're probably asking yourself, well, why is it not then? Well, I'll tell you. Because I decided that, A, it doesn't really add anything to the storyline that I actually kind of want to tell with The Secret Beauty when I do eventually get that off the ground. And B, I figured this would be a great opportunity to give audiences their first little taste of The Secret Beauty in this comic. So, I separated it from the main storyline, and I created it as a one-off comic. Now, with that said, this leads into step number 2, because I finally had the whole idea conceptualized in my head. That led to the plot outline. In the outline, I wrote down all of the ideas that I wanted to put into the comic. Now, it's about 1.5 pages long, and it describes every single little detail that I want to write in the actual comic. Now, the outline was actually done in about a day. I did it on November 24th, 2018. That was when production on River and Russell Home for the Holidays officially began. I wrote the outline in Microsoft Word, and when it was all said and done, I then decided to start drawing by creating the outline for the title illustration. Now, the title illustration was very simple. It's just River and Russell in a blanket, and it depicts a scene that occurs kind of halfway through the comic. Now that I had written out all of the ideas for the story in the outline, in addition to drawing the title illustration, it was then time to do step number 3, and that was writing a script. Now this is a basic page of the comic right here. I have to schedule which panels go up on each particular day, and there are 13 days to account for, and there are 130 panels. So, to help indicate how I'm going to schedule each individual panel to go up on which day, I have the day number written right here. Right below that, I have the panel number. In this case, it's the 20th panel. And then right below that, I have action. Now, what is action, you may ask? Well, that is the basic idea for what I'm supposed to draw in that particular panel. In this case, it's River and Russell look at the phone, and it rings. So, I basically draw a drawing of River and Russell looking at a phone, and it rings. Duh. Now, right below that, I have action words. Now, those are not the words that are being spoken by the characters in word bubbles. Those are the words that help indicate sound in the comic, because as we all know, comics do not have sound in them. No, no. Now, of course, the words that, are in word bubbles and are to indicate that the characters are speaking are, of course, dialogue. Now, in this case, I just write down River dialogue, and that helps indicate that River is supposed to be the one talking in that particular panel. She's saying the word, hello, and then, of course, right below that, Julie dialogue. Julie is also speaking, that's her mother, and she's saying, River, and then, etc., etc. And this is the guideline to what I'm supposed to draw and what I'm supposed to write in each individual panel. Now, the comic only took about 2 days to write. I started it on November 25th, and then I ended it on November 26th. So yeah, it was basically very simple, but I wrote a ton of pages for this comic. Because of course there are 130 panels. So yeah, even though I came up with the idea about a year ago, the actual production on the comic only took about a month, from coming up with the outline, detailing every idea that I wanted to present in the comic, to writing the script, which is much more detailed with dialogue and action words for each individual drawing. And then it comes up to step number 4, which is actually drawing each individual panel. And as I said before, I didn't just do 130 drawings, I did 136 drawings for this comic. Now, to draw this comic, I started by outlining it traditionally on paper using some of the pigment liner pens that I used for my Inktober comics. Production started on November 28th and it concluded on December 11th, 1 day before the comic was supposed to go out. Now you're probably saying, hey Roc, that seems like a short amount of time to do 136 drawings, and you're right. So in order to account for that, I did about 10 panels per day at least, and at most it got to about 12. Now that seems like a lot, but when I was doing my other 10 panel comics, I was able to actually get all of those drawn out in 1 day too, so I'm actually quite used to it. And in case you're asking, wow Roc, you managed to get 136 drawings done in that short amount of time without making one single mistake? That's impressive. Well, no, there were mistakes made, and some of them were able to be fixed when I get to the next step, which I'll talk about in a minute. But there were some pages that had to be vetoed and started all over again. But don't worry, folks. Every page that I had to veto, kind of like these ones, I put into a paper bag, kind of like this Torrid bag that I got from my mother. I put them in like this. And once it gets filled completely to the top, I bring them down to my recycling bin, and I recycle all of this paper, because I care about the environment, despite the fact that I'm using 136 pages of paper. But every page that I don't end up using, or I have to throw out, sometimes I use them as scrap, but if I can't use them at all, I throw them into that bag, I bring them down to my recycling bin, so they can get recycled, and less trees have to be cut down. But I digress. Once the outline was officially completed, it was then time to move on to step number 5, scanning into my computer and coloring it digitally using my Clip Studio Paint Pro software. I started by coloring in the title illustration, which was interesting because it was the only drawing that I really had to edit. I colored in the characters and the blanket, but then I had to add a green background. And then I moved it into my video editor, Adobe Premiere Elements 15. And then I edited the drawing by changing the size and then chroma keying the green background. Then I typed in the title of the comic and of course the writer and illustrator, which is of course yours truly. When that was all done, it was time to color each individual panel of the comic. It started on December 11th, the very same day that I finished the outlining of the comic, and it concluded on December 24th, which is, of course, today. And here's a fun little tidbit for you. While I was in the process of coloring the comic, this was around day 5 or 6 of the process, something like that, my family got together and we had a huge Christmas party. It's a yearly tradition in my family. We eat a big banquet, and then we exchange Christmas gifts. And one of the Christmas gifts that I was given this year by my aunt and uncle was a stand for my tablet. The U-Green Desktop Support Multi-Angle Adjustable Portable Stand. I used it for the rest of the coloring process, and I really enjoy it. So, thank you Aunt Debbie and Uncle Mike, I really appreciate this new tablet stand. Now fortunately, coloring the comic is not quite as time-consuming as outlining the comic, partly in thanks to the Fill tool in Clip Studio Paint Pro. By using this tool, I was able to color large portions of the comic by simply tapping on my Pinboo tablet with my Pinboo tablet pen, and drawings would be filled with color in literally minutes. Now unfortunately, it didn't always capture each individual pixel. Those had to be colored in by hand. But still, it was very much time-saving, and it was able to help me color 10 panels every single night, which is good because often I'd have to color them hours before they go up. Now, the only day in which I had to do more than 10 drawings, in fact 15 drawings, was when I got to panel 100. That was the one that took 6 drawings, and you're probably saying, why? Why did it take 6 drawings? It's panel 100, that should be 1 drawing. Well, it is a part of the story, it is an official panel of the comic, but it's actually an animation. You see, in the comic, Russell gives River a music box, and to create the illusion of the music box actually playing, I created 6 drawings to create an animation and brought it into my editor so that it would create the illusion of it moving and playing with music. I colored each of the drawings the same night as I did panels 90 through 99, and I put both those comic panels and the animation up on the very same day. I brought each of the individual finished colored frames into my editor, as well as the music for the music box, and then I started dropping them in and editing them in such a way to create the illusion of movement. Each drawing was going to go by at about 0.3 seconds. Not too fast, not too slow. Just right. Now when I first started editing, I thought I'd do it manually. By that I mean, bring all the pictures in and then slice them in such a way so that I could just put them in their designated spots. But because there were 6 frames and only like 0.3 seconds for each individual frame to go by, and it was going to be about 45 seconds long, I realized that it was just going to take entirely way too much time, and it was already very late into the night. So I decided to save the video at the 3-second mark, export it, and then put that video in another timeline, and then slice the video up in such a way to make it look like it was moving consistently, kind of like a GIF. And it saved a lot of time. Then I put the music in, I exported it, and this is the finished animation that you see. Pretty sick, huh? Well, anyway, after the animation was done, I still had 30 drawings left to color. But when I was finished with all of those, the comic was officially complete. And in the midst of actually coloring the comic, I started on step number 6, uploading the comic on Instagram and Facebook. Now you're probably saying, wait, uploading is step number 6? But Roc, you said there were 7 steps, what the heck, man? Well, I'll tell you the very last step. It's witnessing the audience's reaction to the comic. And I'm very happy to say that people seem to have responded really well to River and Russell Home for the Holidays. But a lot of people saying it was heartwarming, and they loved the characters, and they loved the situation. They really grasped the situation of River and Russell's parents not being home for the holidays, and they were worried about them. And they loved the characters, and they loved River and Russell's situations. They thought it was so sweet and cute, and people really wanted the next panels like right away. There were comments saying, "When's the next part? I really want to read it." And I couldn't be more proud. I'm very, very happy that people really seem to like the comic, and I put a lot of heart, a lot of soul, and a lot of time, despite it being very short time, into the comic, and it just fills my heart. I mean, seeing people respond so positively to River and Russell Home for the Holidays just makes me so much more confident that the Secret Beauty can be a real thing someday, and I'm going to continue working really hard on it, and I'm going to make sure it's as good as this comic. In fact, I'm going to make sure it's even better than this comic. And I want to thank each and every one of you who stuck around with the comic and read it and enjoyed it. And I'm just so happy that people really like it. And I'm happy too, because in my mind, this is probably the very best thing that I did so far on The Secret Beauty. All the comics, all the drawings that I did, no joke, this is my favorite project that I worked on so far. And I hope that this is just a sign of good things to come with The Secret Beauty. And even though this is the last major project that I have for the year, it's definitely not the last project for The Secret Beauty as a whole. I still have many plans for The Secret Beauty in the coming years, and of course, I'm probably not going to do a big comic like this until I actually come up with a better idea, an even bigger idea, or until I actually move on to the actual main passion project. But until then, because that's still going to be quite a while away, because I'm still very much developing it, I want it to be really good. I want it to be just as good as possible, so it's going to be a while. But I might still do more 10-panel comics in this coming year, so stay tuned for those. And with that said, this comic is done, and this video is done. It's time for me to put this folder filled with all 136 drawings for the comic in a very safe place. So, I hope you all enjoyed this video today, because I had a lot of fun making it myself, and I especially loved making this comic. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy Hanukkah, a very Happy Kwanzaa, a very happy any holiday. Thanks for watching, have a very nice day, Merry Christmas, and take care now. Hey everybody, I hope you're not tired of my voice yet, but in case you are, I'll be brief. As these credits roll by, I just want to take this time to remind you that if you want to see some more Drawing with Monsterboy Roc videos, like this one that you just finished watching, then please click the subscribe icon and hit the little bell to be notified for videos like this one of when I drew River and her parents taking care of Russell while he has the flu. You can also click on this playlist to watch every episode of Drawing with Monsterboy Roc as well. Thanks again for watching, and once again, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well.